ഞാനുണ്ട്. Yesterday we have done one report. I think I can save it. I'll do quickly with report wizard because manually we already know, right, how to do it. What is the tissue value you're getting?
Hello, Venkat. Actually, I started, creating this user, and when I saved it, like I have went to this view diagnostics examine. It's asking me the Oracle password.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Just
like,
try reading apps, APPS.
okay,
For the first time it will ask a password
okay.
and
So I tried
that should be,
this operations and other things. So
no. Operations will be the application username
okay,
and the database will be always apps and it will be BIS.
okay,
So username will be apps and password will be apps.
okay. Just the password. It's asking just the Oracle password.
Yeah, give
So
apps APPS.
okay.
Did you connect to the database anytime after installing it?
No, no, I guess.
It will be try now.
Okay, okay, sure, I'll do that.
So I just created a report, and when you come for data model, you have only 3 columns. Today we'll see, I told you yesterday already about bind parameter, right? So today we'll see lexical parameter. Lexical parameter. And then we will also see formula column. Okay, and summary column. And placeholder. So let's start with lexical parameter. Basically, bind parameter is always represented with a colon. Any parameter will be giving something like this: p underscore user underscore id, or p underscore user underscore name, that sort of thing. And for every parameter, you have to put only a colon. Okay. And rather than that, if you put ampersand and say p underscore something like, basically bind parameter represents only a single value, and it always matches with single column also. It means when I'm saying p user id, I'll be entering a user id value there and reflect where user id equal to p user id. But when you talk about lexical parameter is not single value. It is basically a string. Let's say in a select statement, I have 2 parameters, like row num less than equal to p underscore row num, as we did yesterday, and user id user underscore id greater than p underscore user id, something like this. But then when you see this and user id equal to greater than p user id, this should be additional parameter, and this should be also an optional parameter, as I explained yesterday. Optional parameter in the sense, whenever the user enters, it should work like and user id greater than p user id. If user is not entering any value, the query should work only up to row num. How is it possible to work like up to row num 1 and up to both the string, continue with both the strings? So only thing is when you put anywhere, when you put colon like this, it will always ask a value, and you cannot avoid that. But then I want to avoid this part. This part I want to avoid, saying like I just want to add once, in the same way I want to remove once. Okay. So when the user enters, this part should add to my query. Otherwise, this should be removed. So something like that. Instead of directly adding it at the runtime, I will add this part when user enters it. If it doesn't enter, it will not be added. I can manage like that. If I manage like that, what happens? Up to row num only the query will work. When the user enters the value, then I'll add this part. Okay. And this will work. Like that I have to manage. So passing this AND user ID greater than P user ID, or more than one AND operator, anything. If you want to pass this string to your query, okay, you can do with your lexical parameter. So what you need to do is you need to define a parameter called as ampersand, and it need not be P underscore lexical. To make it meaningful and to match their name, we just use p lexical, but it can be anything, p underscore anything, it can be p underscore text, p underscore lexical, p underscore string, all this, it can be anything. Okay. Basically, in naming for like technology and terminology, what they use p lexical, so that tomorrow someone opens your report and when they see, they can identify easily saying, oh, p lexical, fine. P lexical is nothing but a lexical parameter. Something like that. So let's add this. Where user ID greater than p user ID. Right? So I'll remove this. Right now I'll put where row num less than equal to 10. This part, and here the rest of the part should be added. So instead of this, what I'll do, I'll cut this, and here I'll say ampersand p underscore lexical. So basically this lexical coding will be written in triggers. Okay, go to tools, object navigator. Here in this section you have something called as a report triggers. Go to after parameter form. You have different kind of triggers here: before parameter, after parameter, before report, between pages, and after report. I'll tell you what report works for how and all. Here we will come, you will already have a function called as boolean. You will say if p underscore user underscore id is not null, then say p underscore lexical equal to, simply put this. That's it. P lexical is and user ID greater than equal to p underscore user ID. Okay, so this part will be added and user ID greater than equal to, and p user ID, whatever the value you enter, that value will go. It means whenever p underscore user ID is not null, when the parameter is not null, then what it will do is it will go and say and user underscore ID greater than equal to, let's say you have entered 125 in p user ID. So it will just go and add it. What I'm doing is adding it as a string and just putting this in single quotes. This will go and store here. Apart from that, it will concatenate the value p underscore user ID, whatever you have entered parameter, that value it will concatenate and it will put here. 1, 2, 5. Okay. So compile it, compiled with errors. Yeah, you have to put colon. Everything, whatever you write in your code, in Oracle reports, anywhere if you write any code where you're referring to any column, parameter, anything, you have to write it in single quotes. P underscore user ID. Just go to this F4, copy this name. You just make it sure whether the name is correct or not. What you can do is you can copy this. I mean, I just give small, that's all. It's not really big. Okay. So B lexical is capital. Now, go to this. So you have P user ID. Let's say you want to enter it now. If you don't enter, what it will do? It will just give 10 rows, right? You can always see 125, whatever you are entering. User ID is 100 something. And let's say now I'll say 125. See, user ID 125, 126, 127, we're getting it, right? It means if I give user ID, it is working like and user ID equal to, greater than equal to. If I'm not giving user ID, it is just working as a row number. How can you make sure it is working as a row number? By the difference of user ID name. See, user ID like this, you get it. If you give user ID something like 50 or something, if it is taking that 50, it means you are getting some filtration of the database, it is working. Still, if you want to see, it is really adding this part, the string, and user ID equal to it is adding. If you want to see, what you can do is, you can just put some name here. User ID, user underscore ID is a column. One is not there actually. I'm just making a mistake so that while it will compile automatically, because it is in the string, it doesn't know when you put it in single quote. Now when you run it, it will say user underscore ID 1 is not a column. And you can see the complete string added. See, now 10 rows, it won't go there because I have not entered any value in user ID. This I entered here 100. Okay. If it is not null only, that code will work, right? Okay. Username, user ID, creation is from FND user, where row number less than or equal to 10 and user ID 1 greater than 100. It means this part is added, right, in our query now. When I enter 100, it is adding this part and user ID equal to. To show this error, when you just give, when you want to see this whether this is being added or not, what you can do, you can just put some mistake here, make some mistake, so that what happens, it will show that whatever the query is generated, it will show, it will say, and user ID 1 is not greater than equal to 100 is shown, and user ID is not an invalid identifier. Invalid identifier is user ID is not a column. There is no column called as user underscore ID in this table. Okay, like this you can cross check if that particular query is working or not. Whenever you do any mistake and then when you come back, what it will do is it will keep giving that error. So you can just save the report, close it and come back and remove this. and you can say program compile all. So it will compile it, another report. So 120. Okay. So like this lexical parameter can be added. And lexical parameter can be added as number of values you want, you can add it. It means, let's say this where row num less than 10 also you want to add it as lexical parameter. So what you can do is you can cut this. It means more than one string can be added. Go to Tools, Object Navigator. For that, what you need to do is you need to create one more parameter. P user ID is there, so P underscore row num, because when you want to make that row num also as parameter, you should write P underscore user ID is not null, you're writing, right? In the same way, you have to also write if P row num less than. It means you should have a parameter first to say that whether I'll be entering or not. P row num is less than not null. Then you will say where row num less than, instead of 10, you will just put P underscore row num. But then when you are using where clause also in completely as a lexical, this should be first, because in our query select star from FND user you have, right? So I'm just giving a space so that it will not concatenate the complete FND user and where. It will have one space. Where row num less than equal to P row num. So first where clause will start. That's the reason first part is right. So now when I enter row num, what happens? My query will be like this. Select user underscore name, comma, user underscore ID, comma, creation underscore date. It will prompt for you for the parameter. When it is prompted, then you will enter row num. So that part will be added, where row num less than equal to 10. Second time it will prompt for the user ID. If you enter, then it will say and user ID greater than equal to 125 or something. If you don't enter this part, user ID, it will work up to this. If you don't enter row num also, the query will work up to this from FND underscore user. It will work up to this. If you enter row num, it will work this. If you enter user ID, this will also be added. So like this will get generated as a runtime. Okay, but then where row num less than equal to 10, I kept in P lexical, right? By the time it comes and user ID greater than will be overwritten on this P lexical. First where row num less than equal to you have, on top of that and user ID greater than equal to will be overwritten, right? So for that reason what we will do is so you can just concatenate like this. So P lexical equal to P lexical and user ID. It means P lexical what you have this part where row num, and in case you don't enter, let's say this part you did not enter it, then what happens? P lexical. Okay. Because if you don't enter this part, where clause will not come here. Okay. And p-lexical will have empty, nothing. So it will start with and user ID. Let's assume you did not enter row num. If you don't enter row num in this query, you will not have like this, and it will say start from FND user and user ID. But there should be a where clause, right? So without a where clause, it will not work. So if this part is not entered, where is not there, where row num less than equal to not there. At least if where is not there, where row num less than is not there, it should be at least where here, where user ID. So automatically where should come and add, right? But where is not there. How to handle that? So for this p-lexical, this is a parameter. So you can go here in property palette. You can say here where 1 equal to 1. Initial value where 1 equal to 1. Okay. Later it will override. In case if this is not entered, then you will have where 1 equal to 1. Before this, where 1 equal to 1 and user ID. If you enter, then what happens? Where row num less than equal to 10. You will have this part. So any one will be added for you in this value. It will override. Let's run this. See, by default you have where 1 equal to 1. Okay, if you enter row num 10, you got 10 rows. So this where 1 equal to 1 is overwritten by this. Now 10, 1 to 8. See, 1 to 8 is started and where 10. It means it is working like where row num less than 1 and user ID is greater. So like this you can write lexical as a number of lexical parameters you want to write. In one lexical parameter value, you can actually keep writing any number of strings and you can use it. So here I have only select star from FND user, select column names from FND user, and ampersand of p-lexical. Okay. Next is, I said we will work with formula column, right? Basically, what is a formula column? Formula column is something like nothing but simply a function. You will have f and x here. Okay, click here, drag and leave it here. You will get cf underscore 1. Right click on this, go to property inspector. Let's say you want to calculate something like you want to print email ID is one more column. If you have that email ID for a user, you will say eligible. Otherwise, you will say not eligible. You want to write some condition with it. CF eligible something. Okay, CF is calculated field. So formula, number, you have data types here. You can write character and 20, and you can write a PL/SQL property. So what my what I want to do is in my report, I want to add one more column saying eligible and not eligible. I just print a text called as eligible and not eligible for every row. Whenever the user is having email address in the table, I will say he is eligible to mail. Okay, to give a mail to him. Okay, if he doesn't has mail, then I'll say not eligible. Something like that. I want to print something in my report. If I want to print something in my report, or I want to calculate something, quantity into price and make it total amount or something, also I can use a formula column. But what is it I'll be returning? When I say quantity into price, it will be number. The output will be number. When I say eligible, not eligible, it should be character, right? That's the reason I'm selecting data type as character. and 20 characters eligible. Here I should write my PL/SQL formula. If I just click on PL/SQL formula, okay, it will show function, formula column, return character is. So here I want to write something on email address. Based on email address, I want to take some decision. So, but email address is not available here. So first of all, I have to add that email address. Now in my formula column, I will go to PL/SQL editor directly. I can go. I'll write if email underscore address is not null, then RETU I will return eligible. Else email underscore eligible is not null, then return eligible. Else return not eligible. Something like this. Okay. When you're saying email address is not null, then return eligible or otherwise not eligible. Let's see how it works. And this text should be printed in my report, right? So what I'll do is I'll modify my report. Yesterday I told like the parent column, if you want to select it, you have to extend actually now. If you want to add on one more column, this frame should be extended. So what I can do is outer frame. So everything is moving out, right? So we also discussed yesterday we have to do flex off. So this is the frame, outer frame. And this is what. Now for this also I'll have one more frame, right? Outside frame. So I'll say something like mail eligible. Here I'll put my text field. I'll say F4. I'll just give some name, F underscore mail. Here in source column, CF eligible. So I'm just moving it a bit. And now I'll say 1, 2, 8. Let's say 10 people who is eligible and who is not eligible. None of them are not eligible. How can you make sure that they have the email address or not? Do one thing. In design, you can also put one more column and print mail address. You already have a column called as email address, right? So if you have null, it means there is no text. You can also check with the database, of course. See, none of them have an email address. That's the reason it is not clear. Let me check in the database and show you this. Did you try giving app password?
No, Venkat, I didn't try that. I'll do it after this class.
So you will try and let me know later?
Yeah, sure, I'll do that.
Because Chaitanya told me that to connect to someone, when if what if, I mean, he wanted me to check what is the issue and he wants you to get connected with some DB or database administrator, someone.
Okay.
So that he can look into. But the password will be apps. Try that. If not, then we will connect.
Okay. Sure, Venkat.
Whose system you are using? You are using Chaitanya's server?
I don't know. It's user 55 and server at 55. R12. They have sent me some mail, so I'm using.
Okay. So you're connecting to the through remote.
Yeah, remote only. Desktop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. You're connected to the database. Now if you see your query, so what it will be added from user, and user where Ronam less than equal to 10 and user underscore ID greater than equal to 1 to 8. Right? This is the query what we are running here. So we don't have email address. Everywhere it is empty. Okay. So if the email address is there, then I said eligible, otherwise not eligible, right? So let me do something. Don't do this update anytime. I'm just doing as it is a test instance. For a testing purpose, I'm just showing you. Set email underscore. You should not update tables. Any value. test@aol.com where user underscore ID equal to 1 to 8. Something like this. I just updated for one of the table as commit, one of the row. See, for this now you got eligible 128 and the rest of you got not eligible because you have the mail ID. If mail ID is there, eligible, otherwise not eligible. Something like this. These kind of things, if you want to make it, then you can make CFS calculation too. In the same way, if you want to do some count or something, you can take summary column, the sigma symbol, and place it here. The summary column will always have some functions. Okay. Go to property inspector. Let's say I want to count the employee numbers. Summary number 10 will have some maximum, minimum. I want the count of employees, how many employees or how many records I'm printing. Okay, I'll say count of user ID at report level. Report level or page level. Page level means for every page it will give the count. And for report level means end of the report it will give. So count of user ID. Why I'm taking only count of user ID? Because when you're counting, you should always take unique fields, right? So here I can put a label. Put a field. Therefore, here you'll have CS1. Basically, all summary columns will have CS. Formula columns will have CS. Let's say I entered 5. Number of records is 5. The summary columns will be basically used like that. Formula column is simply a function. If you want to do any calculations, if you want to write some if conditions, okay, you can just write it and that will be printed as column. Summary column is to do all grand totals, subtotals and all. So we'll see placeholder column tomorrow. Only 2 minutes is left for a PowerPoint. Okay. So try giving the app's password and I'm sure it will work. If not, I'll let him know.
Okay, Venkat. I'll do that today.
And we'll connect tomorrow.
Okay, sure.
Bye.
Bye, Venkat.